Well, shit. Oh, damn, I already messed it up. Here we go, guys. We're live on YouTube. It's it's almost like a lunar eclipse, right? When we decide to stream, you have to wear special eye protection because it's so bright and
right.
Oh my goodness, man, yay! It's been a long time, man. We were just getting caught up behind the scenes, and we saw you guys waiting, and we said, you know what, we're just gonna go in. We're just gonna go in. So.
Right. Let me go ahead and cut off Madden. I'm over here trying it out right now. I'm getting, it's Madden time. So I just wanted to get a feel, get a look at it, all that. So I better back out of here. But yeah, no, man, you're right. Like it is, it's the full moon or the crescent moon, whichever one comes the rarest. But we are here. The Devin the Gamer is here, episode 52. We have been doing this podcast for what? Close to 4 or 5 years now, and we got like 52 episodes. That's some work, brother. That's some work.
It is. Well, we finally got a look that makes sense. Coordinating with GRG, because this is an extension of GRG. Just as a reminder, which is K-Mega's creation. I'm just the man behind the scenes, hitting the buttons, the levers, and kind of bringing it all together, giving a look that's consistent with everything that you guys have got going on over there. In regards to that, and streamlining things for not only for this podcast, but there's things I've done here that helped out with other stuff you're doing over there. So all that sort of stuff kind of is part of that partnership. But man, K-Mega, I mean, I've been spending money. I've been out of control, man. I've been out of control. I need to reel it back in because I'm going to be spending a bunch more money by the end of this year. But yeah. And it's all gaming related. It's all gaming related.
I'm sure, but why don't you give us a little tidbit of what some of the stuff that you're going to be spending some of this dough on?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a preview of what I'm going to be buying next, and I'll tell you what I just got. So
all right.
So you can go on the site. It's called Secret Labs. I'm going to be getting their L-shaped desk that has like a built-in cable channel and everything. It has a full leather top for your desk, and the main reason, and I'll be doing a video on this, but is I can't move freely from my drawing tablet that I have set up here to my other monitors freely. I have IKEA desk with table legs in the way and all that sort of crap, right? So that's the first thing. Well, the problem is my current monitor setup's not going to fit all that. So I'm going to step it down, but still keep it big. 42-inch OLED.
For the main gaming display.
With two 32-inch 4K monitors on the side. And yes, I do use those for chat and all that sort of stuff. Those are going to be what they call IPS panels, because I don't have to worry about burning on those, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was going to ask about the OLED. What did you feel about the burn-in aspect of it?
I feel like I'm making a risk. I'm feeling making a big risk, to be honest with you. But the big thing that sold me on is the QD OLEDs that Samsung had, and I had that, and that TV went to our bedroom, essentially, with me and my wife, and I brought back my older it's not QD OLED, but the QLED. QLED from Samsung. It's like the nicest QLED that they make in regards to it. So I put that back in here, but the problem is it's space. Two things can't occupy the same space at the same time. I have to have lights. I plan on adding more cameras here, so obviously I have a green screen going on here. That's just how K-Mega's background is, guys. That's just those people are always creeping up behind him, but
right. This is why I'm a fighting fan.
Yeah, so but I want to have multiple cameras. I want to have everything kind of set up before everything's built up downstairs. So just because I want to make different content as well. So that's part of the reason for all this. So new monitors, new desk, custom built shelving that I'm doing, for all my PCs. So I don't have multiple PCs just kind of stacked up vertically. Consoles, all the stuff that I need, essentially. And then last but not least, those are future plans. But what's been really bugging me, and I'm sure it bugs anyone that streams, it's got newer consoles, is HDMI 2.1.
Yes.
Either you have to plug your shit in and out all the time. These are the reason. Just, you ever see like these videos of people with their PS5 HDMI ports going out and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because they're doing that. They're plugging stuff in and out, in and out. It's only meant for so many cycles, right?
Right.
And so it's not a bad port. It's just, it's not meant to be plugged in 1,000 times, right? So
makes sense.
So what either you would have to do is when you're not streaming, plug things in and out of your device, your Xbox Series S, X, or PS5, or you leave things plugged in if you have a capture card, but you have to sacrifice HDMI 2.1. HDMI 2.1 pass-through just got released by AverMedia last night at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Is that was something that you was posting that you was waiting on? Was that one of the things?
I've been waiting on this for a while. Yeah, I've been posting. I've been like, what the hell, dude? You guys were saying it was supposed to be pre-orders like last month, right? Like, what's going on, man? What's going on? I'll give you my money. So the USB version of it came out, and I promised to myself, whoever did it, Elgato or AverMedia, whoever did it first, I will buy that capture card, regardless of what form factor it comes in. USB or PCI slot style.
Right.
So yeah, that order went through last night. Got confirmation this morning. Shipping out Friday. So
nice.
I'll be probably using it this time next week.
How much is it?
Retail's normally $300. There was a pre-order bonus. I didn't know that was part of the deal. So I went to go check out, and I look at my bank statement, and I'm like, $274.
No.
With tax, it's got to be higher than that. It's got to be higher than $300, right? And then it said $274 pre-order bonus when I looked at my back of my receipt. But then again, my last one I bought at, I think, just after the Series X came out. Like just after, like it was a couple weeks, not the Series X, the Xbox One X, sorry. So, I mean, I've had it for 5 or 6 years now, you know what I mean? So like, I'm not unhappy. And this is kind of the end game. That's what people need to understand. Like, it does VRR, it does, you can do 4K 144 hertz or 4K 120 hertz. So you can do either or. So you can do all the features that the newer console is going to have, and really it's kind of going to be the industry standard for the most part. You can do 8K 60, all that sort of stuff. That stuff goes through, and then it's compatible with the full HDR range that the Series S and X have. The PS5 still has, still HDR, it's still classified as HDR. But it doesn't have as wide of a bandwidth on the bit rate for its color goes. So it's a little more limited, but it does all of it. So it does what the PS5 does and the new series consoles does. So it's what I wanted in regards to it. It also makes it easier when you do a second PC setup. I can just plug it into one of those.
Plug it in. Yeah. So you just plug it in.
And I don't have to compromise the PC experience either. So yeah, it's really kind of the step of direction for the channel, and I'm excited about it. It's a toy in a lot of ways because everything else works just fine.
Right. Yeah, it's just a added accessory. But no, I mean, I ever since I got the Elgato, the 4K Elgato that you put internally in your PC, I recommend that 100%. And so therefore I get what you're saying because I still have my HD Elgato, and if I want to port it between if I want to, well, I haven't really. I think I've done it like once or twice with the 360, but like it's mostly for like when I'm playing on my PlayStation, on the PlayStation 4 or the Switch, something like that, when you gotta take it out, put it back in over and over again. I don't like doing that over and over again too. Like you said, wear and tear eventually will happen. So, you know, if I can get another one that I could put in another slot, but then that's where I'm gotten another situation, because as big as those damn 40 series cards are, you know, they take up a lot of space. And so, yeah, like, I mean, that card took up like 3 slots. So,
well, the thing is, the newer capture cards are just USB 3.2.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you can do a PCI version if you have room, or you can do what I did, was just a standalone. So there's no compromise. So like the problem with your current one, which the Elgato one, just same one I got, is great. It just doesn't allow you to do 4K 60. I mean, it's not 4K 60, sorry, 4K 120. You can do 4K 60.
120.
You know, they could do a 4K 60 HDR pass through, not a problem. But anything more like the VRR, the low latency features, all those extra features the newer consoles have, you really can't take advantage of them unless you have the new HDMI 2.1 standard. So these are the first cards to come out with that. In regards to that. So yeah, so if you guys are interested in a review of that, let me know. I might start recording some stuff of it now, and then when it comes in, then I can just touch up the last little bits and post it up for you guys. So, but yeah, I'm excited. It's a gaming experience where I don't have to compromise, right? Like that's
you've been talking about it for a while, so yeah. I can tell.
Yeah, it's a compromise situation. I don't like doing that. I don't mind streaming, but I don't like compromising my experience. So
right, no, I feel that. Yeah, okay. So what have you been playing here for the last couple of weeks? I know I've seen you playing a lot of Mega Man.
Yeah, I've been retroing it up.
But
you know, it's not so much a retro itch. It just kind of occasionally I'll do new game and then go through 2 things in my backlog I haven't done yet. And the Mega Man collection's been sitting there and I've been putting it off. I'm like, I want to get the achievements for Mega Man, right? Like I played through a bunch of them as a kid. But you know, I want to play them all over again. And so, you know, I don't do it all the time. So it'd just be one of those things like played through. So I played through the first 6 Mega Mans, already. You know, the 8-bit ones are not that long, to be honest with you. So, you know, 3 hours, you can go through 2 of them easily. You know what I mean? So
right, yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, because I beat the first one, but that's it. I've told you before, like I've always thought Mega Man was cool, but I just never grasped it, you know, because it was just so difficult for me at that time just to get past the first one. So I just kind of stayed away from them. But I haven't really tried. I bought I think I do have the collection.
Well, Mega Man 1 is super buggy out of all of them, and it's probably one of the harder ones to finish.
Really? Because that was brutal as a kid to try to beat. When I finally did it, it was like, okay. Yeah, and then I seen the second one and I got intrigued because graphically it looks better, things like that. And so I talked my mom into renting it, and I started it, and then I just never went back. And like I said, I bought them, but I just haven't beat them like that. So I've always enjoyed the fact that Mega Man has this long legacy as it does, but but I haven't just really ever just played them like that. You know, I need to give them a try after all this years.
2's the best one. If somebody just wants to try 1 and get a taste and see if they like Mega Man, I recommend 2. 2 is the best one. And then the very first thing, only hint I'll ever tell anyone on 2, just go after Metal Man first, choose him first, get him out of the way, and then the game becomes instantly easier throughout the whole entire thing. The collection series also has a rewind button. I abuse that quite a bit.
Oh man, real okay, all
Yeah,
right.
so you can rewind it if you have like, man, that was an unfair death. Like I fell through something you were supposed to actually land on, and
Oh yeah,
because Mega
yeah,
Man 1 did that a lot. I'm like, fine,
a lot.
I'll just rewind it. And so I rewinded
Hmm.
it, and then I made the jump exactly the same, and it lands right on. I don't pass through the object. So things like that is played through. So I played through the first collection. So the first collection's done. They have the Mega Man
Hmm.
2 collection, which is kind of the 16-bit era bleeding into the newer 32-bit era, believe it
Hmm.
or not. So I played the first one, which was I think 7, and that was the one was on Super Nintendo,
Hmm.
which was different, right? You go from your character being this small to being this big, and
Right.
so it takes up so much more of a real estate of the screen. It becomes like a different game almost, even though the mechanics are the same. So you played through that one, and now I'm on the one where you can tell it's the CD-ROM generation, where they have cutscenes that are
Yeah, yeah, the cool stuff,
they're
the good
like
stuff.
Japanese
Yeah,
anime cutscenes with really low bit
yeah,
rate because
yeah.
of CD-ROM. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. And this next one is really weird. Like it was released on the Saturn, I think, in the PlayStation.
Mm.
And just a lot more enemies in the screen, but the characters are smaller now, but there's less colors than the Super Nintendo one. It's weird. It's different. So trying it. I'm going through that, and then yeah, Yobi bought me the second collection, so I'm going to go through
Oh, nice,
the basic
nice.
collections. And then once we're through that, then I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I think I may do something like try something new outside of what I normally play. Does that make sense? Like
Ah,
just like kind
yeah,
of one of those maybe try out Diablo, maybe try out the Baldur's Gate, maybe try out some of these ones that are not normally games I would play.
I might not see you for a while unless you want me to help you play. That's
You
it.
can join me. I'm
Cause
all
yeah,
about if the game's co-op, you can join. I don't care.
yeah, it's co-op.
Yeah,
It's co-op. Yeah,
so
yeah. Because it took me away. I did not. Well, I was not expecting Diablo to take me away like that. Especially it took me away from Street Fighter 6. Like it just, yeah, no, it's really good. And I'm for like level 50 on my or 40. I'm like 40. I'm 42. I'm lying. I'm 42
mm.
on my on the expansion. I plan on getting that, and then just helping people, or just kind of setting it down, because get ready for when Starfield comes. I mean, of course, Madden drops. Madden, the early edition dropped today. I mean, yesterday. But I'm just playing the trial right now. I'll go ahead and, me, I'll eventually pick it up, and then we get into Armored Core, which I'm kind of excited about, and then Starfield and Mortal Kombat 1. Like, so
Ooh.
be loaded. Yeah, be loaded. So and then right after that is Cyberpunk, all in the set, like right all together, clumped up. So a game that I will recommend. Um, I will say, and see, I bought it on PC because it was cheaper, but I've played. I've got about a good 3 hours into it, and really really like that combat in it, and that is Atlas Fallen.
Yeah, it looks good.
It's fun.
That's
It's really
something
fun.
I've had my eye on, and
Hmm.
just like a lot of games, like I'm trying to play through something sneaks up on me, sort of
Right.
thing. And so, but no, that's been on my list secretly behind the scenes, because I always see it. Like I forgot when they would have a showing of it, right? Like to do some clips, and man, I love seeing it, but like I'm like, okay, well I'll play it when it comes out, and just whenever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I look at it. I mean, it's just fun. It's just very enjoyable. Another game, like I just was telling you before we started, I finally beat Forspoken. I knew if I didn't beat it before then, that it might not ever get beaten. So that's why I was kind of locked in to make sure because I realized, when I realized that I was actually close to the end, I was like, oh, I got to finish it. And I will say, I mean, I've talked highly about the game, except for the beginning of it. The beginning of the game was real cringy, but that combat system is incredible. Like case in point, there's these things called tantas, however you want. They're like these super powered beings in this world.
Okay.
And they're like the queens or rulers of this of Athia. That's the place what it's called. And each one of those women have up to 24 to 28 abilities a piece. Ooh. And you can switch between that. Like, of course, you got to upgrade them, but you can switch between on the fly while you're in combat fighting enemies. Like, I mean, it is nuts. Like, I see what now for that game, you definitely need an SSD. And I see it because it's seamless how you can do it two different ways. You can like just click a button and it's kind of like rotate, or you can like hit like it's the RB, or I think it's the RB button. Okay. And then you can just cycle through it yourself manually and then pick whatever that you want to pick. But like there's like 5 tanzas. And so Tanas. And just that's like over 100 and some abilities that you can use from fire, earth, abilities to water.
So combinations of things where you can mix them all up. Yeah.
Right. And then so you can, and so like when you combo things, it's just seamless. It's the combat is incredible in that game. Of course, I think the one thing we've talked about before is the $70 price tag. That scares a lot of people. That I think that is such an abuse of a new title. For to try to take off, and then you're asking people to pay for $70 plus. Of course, when people look at Metacritic and stuff like that, it got ripped. And on top of that, the game was poor at launch. Like it just was broken. And so all that combination is why Illuminous got folded, and now Square Enix has just kind of engulfed them, and then the future of Forspoken looked like it's done. But I would definitely recommend it. That game, I think, it's a timed exclusive, so it will eventually come to Xbox. I'm hoping that game gets on Game Pass.
But it's already on PC, right?
Yeah. That's where I was playing it from, was on PC. But I would definitely recommend it. I think the price is around $40 now.
Okay.
I say it's well worth the price. But if you wanted to wait for another sale to where it's like in the low 20s, $30, it's a bargain. It's a bargain. It's well worth it. And the game is really deep and in depth. So like there's a lot of content within the game, because even after I beat it, there's like a after game thing to it. So I'm very pleased about it. I went from the beginning where it was I would say like a 4 or 5 out of 10 to now like an 8 out of 10 after I've beat it. So yeah.
But that's a lot of Square Enix published games are like that. Like they start off like kind of like, and then everyone I know that's into Square games, right? But they're like, but when you hit hour 20 or you hit hour 10 or you hit,
yes,
right?
That's it.
Yeah,
that's
like,
it.
There's a certain, they're just kind of known for that. They're slow burn starting off, and then they start burning like a habanero, right? Like it just, you can't stop it. But Callie Rex asked an interesting question. What is your thoughts on the debate revolving around Baldur's Gate and developers arguing over expectations? Just curious, since you're a dev.
Yes, great question. Now I was going to start with Forza, but we can definitely start with Baldur's Gate first.
Yeah,
so.
let's start with the world of. I think everything on these conversations that are all being completely taken out of context, especially in a world of influencers that are just passionate gamers. And sometimes they have to cater towards an audience. Sometimes they have to, sometimes they're emotionally invested. I get it. In regards to that. The reality is the conversation needs to be framed around the fact that we're in a free market. We have to remember that. We always have to remember that. And so when a developer shines and it does really, really well, guess what? The consumers are going to love it and they're going to praise it. And if you're a developer on the other side, you got to suck it up, Buttercup. Like, you got to get over it. Now, a lot of AAA developers are talking about their publishers, really is what they're talking about, right? Like, there's a conflict of interest, right? Like, the publishers only willing to invest so much money. They're trying to reduce their risk by maybe releasing content more of a time released sort of thing, so games as a service. But by doing that, you reduce the risk, may keep your game more relevant for a longer period of time, all these sort of things. And that's nothing wrong with those strategies, but you have to deal with the aftermath if the general audience that praises something and not your product when it comes out around the same corner. Yeah, you have to compete in that space. And when something is a precedent, you have to compete in that space. That's something you do have to keep in mind. You can only push a content of a game at a certain state for so long for certain gamers to the point where you will break your game. You will break it with the audience. You break that audience trust. So yeah, I think what developers are talking about, just like, well, we don't have really control over the state of the game. We can work our hardest, right? Mm-hmm. But the publishers at the end of the day are making the final decision when something's released. And so they're speaking from an expectation of their publisher and how their publisher acts and how their publisher will push a product out. And they're not wrong, nor is the Baldur's Gate people are wrong, nor is the gamers that want products that are more of a Baldur's Gate state when they release. I don't think anyone's really wrong on that sort of stuff, but the free market will dictate where this goes. So I'm not worried about it. Secretly as a gamer, I want all games to be great and do well. As somebody that's invested in my own company, feel free to make all the mistakes you want out there as far as the industry goes, right? Like, there's that aspect of it, because I'd rather compete in that space, and I agree with more of the Baldur's Gate people. It's hard to get to that level, but that should always be your goal as a developer. And I don't think there's any developers that don't try to release their products the best that they possibly can, but a lot of times they don't have a lot of choice in the matter, and that's something to kind of keep in mind. So I think a lot of misdirection where people are really, really frustrated with things, a lot more of that goes on the shoulders of the publisher than I think people do, if that makes any sense. So
no, that makes a lot of sense. That was where I was going to go with that, was and I think that's why, because there's been articles that come out that said that other developers are kind of nervous behind the success of Baldur's Gate 3 because two factors for as a gamer. One, the game doesn't have really any other extra content. Now I'm sure that it'll have some expansions or something maybe going forward. That part I don't know if they will or not, but you do assume that they will. But the game for the most part is complete. It's not where there's features or anything that's missing. And then on top of that, to kind of put in perspective of like, there's publishers that kind of wants to do away with turn-based, because there's a lot of people there. And I know, Don, you're not the biggest turn-based fan either, but this is kind of made everything look has gone backwards or sideways, because for a turn-based game to get this much popularity and to be this massive on PC for right now, we'll see what it does on the consoles. But that's just a telling point that genre is still relevant. And so I think that when you see the publishers that's trying to force, like, let's just say what we see with Final Fantasy now, where they want to make them more action oriented instead of going back to the traditional style, that kind of makes everybody just pause for a second, I believe, and say, whoa, hold on, wait a minute. There are people that still enjoy this genre. When you look at a game like Midnight Suns, that's combat is turn-based, but it's very enjoyable. That just comes to just prove to me that I think that, like you said, all these games, all these different types of genres has a place. It's just I think that the like you said, the publishers, they just go by analytics instead of just kind of testing the temperature in the room. And I think that's what the biggest problem is because they're dead set on trying to get the most bang for their buck for, I would say, well, just kind of by going by analytics or by what people saying on the internet instead of just looking and just seeing things and placing them how they are. Like, I mean, we'll case in point, Dragon Age 4, when that comes out, that's not going to be turn-based. That's going to be more action-oriented. I don't know how I feel about it after playing Dragon Age Inquisition and just adore that game. I don't know. I mean, what is your thoughts about that? I mean, is it something that, is it where you think the devs give pushback and they just eventually just can't win because of the publisher's money or what?
Well, a lot of times when you have a boss, you try to like please your boss, right? Like,
right.
It's a natural reaction. Like, what is your expectations? Okay, I'm going to do those. I'm going to lean towards those expectations and what I'm going to pitch to somebody. But I think I've mentioned this before when I was on Next 5 or 6 years ago. I don't think genres die.
No,
they don't die. They just get overshadowed by whatever is popular at the moment, right?
Agreed.
Like, think about like trends right now, like really light-hearted, bright, cartoony games are doing really well right now. So what happens? You get a bunch of other people trying to do the same thing because publishers are, maybe like they're trying to, you have the creative people trying to appease the publisher. The publisher is saying, hey man, like this is doing really good. Overwatch is doing really good. And this is, you have, let's say, Fortnite's doing really well. Like, what can you do in that style? You know what I mean? And so then they tend chasing trends versus stay in the spirit of what your game or your vision is and maybe expanding and maybe borrowing a little bit, but still at its core being its own thing.
Right.
And I think that's important. You can't just copy and paste a bunch of things that are popular in one area and then all of a sudden like you lose an identity of a product or a game. But no, I'm not a big fan of turn-based stuff either, but I don't ever advocate for that to disappear. Right? Like that's looking out only for me and nobody else. And that's just not what gaming is. Gaming has a whole bunch of different genres. We're trying to appeal to as many people out there. We want to get people involved in the game. We don't want people leaving gaming, right? In regards to that. And there's nothing wrong with trying to make the most out of your money. Like that's just capitalism. That's not a problem. But there is a disconnect from people that have the money in the publisher versus the creative talent and what they want to do, versus putting your neck out there and saying, hey, we want to do this style game or I want to do that style game. And the reason why you're only seeing less trend chasing type stuff, you see that more in the indie side of things. Does that make sense?
Right.
Or really established franchises. So that's really what's driving all this sort of stuff, is like it's really just where the money hat is and chasing trends, and I don't think it's a healthy thing for the industry.
I don't either.
So
no, I agree.
But the free market fixes it, right? Like you have these lulls, you know what I mean? And you move on from that. Back to the turn-based stuff. Like, I'm not a big fan of it, but I think if I was going to look at Mass Effect, right, BioWare game, Mass Effect 1, I think is still the better game out of all of them, right? Even though they improved,
you think so?
Yeah, even though they improved the combat and all that sort of stuff, there was something to like almost that slow motion pause where you select your different abilities. Does that make sense? It gave you that time to just take a breath, change the pace of it, select what you wanted to do, and then you get back right into combat like that. And that's something that was very unique to the first one, and it was missing from the second or third. And that was something very unique to that game that just forever lost because they moved on from it, right? maybe they were chasing those trends where you have to be more action based sort of combat.
Oh yeah, because Andromeda was definitely more action based than 3. So
yeah, and it played fine. I actually liked Andromeda. I never played it all the way through, but
me neither. But
I did like it. So it's one of those things. You can chase trends, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're inspired to do a more action based game, go do an action based game. You like first person shooters, if you're a creator person, then what you have is a natural progression where people going to the type of games they want to make. Does that make sense? Versus hiring somebody that wants to, like, let's say somebody that gets hired over at 343 and wants to make turn-based games. Yeah, it's a job. Do what you need to do when you're there, but go find work somewhere else. And that's not me trying to be rude. It's just me going, your passion's not in alignment with what that studio is. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
So, and I think everyone should drive to find a studio that's a good fit for them creatively. That doesn't, they feel like they're not being stifled. And don't try to change a studio into something that's not. Like that, there is that aspect of it too. In regards to that. So, yeah, I mean, they shouldn't be worried. They just need to look, and then people that made those choices higher up, guess what? You're wrong. Simple as that.
Yep.
You're wrong. Suck it up. Suck it up. Right?
Yep.
You can only chase trends so much. Sometimes you have to be a trend center in regards to that, and not worry about it. Just make a good product. So.
Right. Or just let the devs have their freedom of what they let them have their ideas. Let them have that creative freedom, and let's just take that. I understand games are much more expensive, so they want to make sure that they capitalize on gaining traction and getting the game to sell. But it also gets to a point to where if you do the same thing over and over and over again, then people will eventually start overlooking your product, because it's only what people are going to do is just go to the same thing that they feel comfortable with. They're not going to look at this particular game, even though it plays maybe identical to what's their popular favorite game, but they'll just feel more comfortable staying where they're at instead of going to pay $70 for something that might have this, that looks like the same experience, but might not. So I think that's the big fail.
It becomes the other, right? That's what you're talking about. Just like it's like that, but it's other.
Right.
And I don't think that's a good thing. And I think we talk about development times and stuff like that. Nothing probably hinders development more is either the wrong person at the wrong studio. Right? Doesn't mean they're not talented, right? Like they just trying to shove a square peg in a round hole, right? They're maybe not a flexible employee or whatever it may be, right? And they're inspired to do other things, or you trying to force the game to be something that it's not, and what ends up happening is now you're forcing a bunch of talent outside of their normal range. Right. And you're wasting a bunch of time trying to basically come up with the game that you've painted a box for, essentially. So,
case in point, Redfall.
Yeah. That's I mean, there's a lot of things going on with Redfall, to be honest with you, but there's a lot of lessons to be learned from that.
You think Redfall will gain any traction within the next year at all?
I don't know. I haven't played it enough to see the potential in it.
Okay.
That's part of it. And then
also, I've seen the potential in it, but man.
But failure to launch, it's a tough one to overcome. It really is. So, and I think there's also a lot of pressure on a lot of Microsoft studios right now, because the fan base wants a bunch of winners, if you know what I mean. Right. So it hits a little extra hard when you swing it and you miss, as far as all that stuff goes. But that also makes people question too. Like, okay, well, as a brand, like, this is something you learn on the development side, especially if you do like portfolios and stuff. You're only as good as your worst work. Does that make sense? So if I give you 6 pieces, you're going to judge me as a studio on my worst piece.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So,
no, that makes a lot of sense.
Because they're going to look at you as like, at least we can count on this, right? This is, regardless of what happens, we'll at least get this from this guy, right?
Right.
Well, subconsciously, that's what gamers do. So if you have a brand recognition on something, a Capcom or let's say EA or Microsoft or Sony or whatever it may be, the brand associated with it, if that name is branded with that and you have a bad experience, your worst experience, whatever it is, a gamer, then you're going to judge that platform based upon that worst experience. In regards to that. So that's something it's not like the whole portfolio thing is naive to anyone that works in the industry. So it's not like it's not in the forefront of their minds. They need to think about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like hey, get it together. But I don't know what this. I just had such a bad experience with Redfall. Wanting to vomit. I thought the controls were awful.
Damn, you said one in a vomit. Damn. Well, yeah. Well, see, I think for me, starting to I played it first on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Then I played it on Xbox, and then of course I seen differences in certain degrees. Other times I didn't. It ran decent. There was, of course, its issues. But it ran decent, but I seen the potential in it. I played the hell out of it for I don't know how. I mean, I put about 40 hours in it.
Yeah, I know you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I seen the potential, and that's why I was asking that question, because I seen that this game could work, but coming to find out that the developers was not behind, as you was just talking about earlier, like they weren't behind making this particular game this way. So to me, it seems like that, if the developer's heart was not fully behind this, then this could be a thing where they'll fix it, because that is something that I think you're obligated to fix this game for the people. Yeah, that for paid the money to get it, or for just the people who spent the money on Game Pass and just booted it up and put it in their hard drive. I mean, so you do owe that, but yeah, no, I don't know if that game will have any life afterwards, unfortunately, even though seeing the potential. But let me ask you another question in regards to Baldur's Gate, right? And that has to do with the delay that's happening. And I don't know if you've heard about it. I don't know how much you've been keeping up with it, but the Xbox version has got delayed because of the split screen aspect on the Series S. There's also, that's something we'll talk about next, which is the same kind of thing. The feature of split screen won't be in Forza as well. But I kind of want to just touch up on the Series S. There's always been this negative placement on the Series S because of the lack of RAM, or now because of Xbox wanting to have this parity thing, and a lot of people have made the point of saying that the Series S is holding the Series X back. What is your thoughts about that? And especially hearing the devs bringing that up about the lack of split screen. That's why the game is going to be delayed and not come out the same time when the PlayStation version comes out of Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, they're talking about a million different things, right? Let's be real. There are 40 series cards being released like less than a couple months ago. Well after the Series S, they have the same bottlenecks. Sure. So, is it the S's fault? No. Industry as a whole, it's there. It's not this isn't a Microsoft problem. Like let's stop. That's just being ridiculous. Second of all, if you're a developer, your job is to learn how to make your game to scale. That's your job. Doesn't matter who you are. So I don't want to hear no whining or bullshitting or people taking that stuff out of context. That is your damn job. To everybody that's a coder, to sound designer, well, less the sound designers, everyone that works on the art side of things, your job is to make your content so it can scale. In regards to that, now not everyone does it on the same level. I get it. It's not easy. I do the work. I understand. But it is the job. That's why you're being hired. It doesn't matter who your publisher is. Doesn't matter if you're independent like myself. My expectation is I'm going to make it to scale across multiple platforms in regards to that. Now, the other aspect of it is, and this is one where people were arguing about multiple platforms before we knew the S was coming out, where we would have these conversations with other gamers and stuff like that. And the reality is, no, the S is not holding back, nor is the older consoles holding it back. It's just, it takes a little more time, right? You have less resources, so you have to learn how to scale it correctly. That just takes time. That takes time with anything that has limited resources. In regards to that. Now, better they learn how to make that scale. Guess what? Guess who benefits to that? The high-end consoles.
They do.
The high-end consoles benefit too, right?
Oh, I thought it was going to be talking about the developer, because now they'll know what to do if they have to run into this again. But continue. I wasn't even expecting that.
So if I optimize graphics in a way the average person can't tell the difference as I scale it back, right? With the limited resources on a smaller console, what have I effectively done with my art assets? I essentially has allowed them to be able to turn it to an extra 11, right? On the high end. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So the more you're able to optimize, the more you find those little intricate things on less powerful hardware, the more you're going to be able to take advantage of the more powerful hardware, like PS5 and the Series X, those consoles, in regards to that. If you just had like a Series X and just had a PS5 in this day and age, what people would do is to try to just get it running, right? In regards to that, they'll do their best that they possibly can, but they may not take the extra bit of time, right? And then they just get it pushed out because they just got brute force to get it out for whatever checkboxes they have. Well, if you take a little more time to refine on something that's less powerful and make your game to scale, you learn how to, or like, okay, maybe this railing I don't, that's, tiny on a screen, like tinier than my pinky on this, display right here. Maybe I don't need to have that have an 8K texture. Maybe, just maybe, 480p texture would be just fine. You know what I mean? Because you're never close enough, right? So, but when you're creating assets, you're creating at the highest level, and you're learning how to optimize all that sort of stuff in a way that's untangible to the lower end. So it is part of the process, and in regards to that. So, is the S holding it back? No, it's not. Does it take time? Yes. If there's going to be any sacrificial lamb in this multiple like quality console thing, it's always going to be the lower end one, right? Because it's easier to get things running on the higher end one. So all these concerns that people are worried about, like it's not legitimate. Never has been in regards to that. I
mean, we've had this talk for years of just about like the with the PlayStation Slim, or with the Xbox One S compared to the Xbox One X and the Xbox One Fat. It does blow my mind that because I can always go back to thinking of games like Forza Horizon 2 and Forza, seeing the difference between that or Titanfall when that was on the 360 and that it was on Xbox One, or Battlefield 4 and how much of an increase that was on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 compared to the PlayStation 3. And then like when you go and you fast forward to this time, people are still bringing this up, even though that we've seen that these games still can flourish and play on older hardware. I mean, we see it now that there's games that comes on multiple things. I don't know. It's turned into such a fanboy, topic that it's good that you're bringing this up to just kind of bring us back down to earth. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, now
the argument's legitimate, but the framing has to be correct, right? So 16 era, absolutely legitimate. 8-bit era, as we go from 8 to 16 to the 32-bit generation to the N64 to the original PlayStation, the original Xbox. Yeah, I mean, I don't perceive myself taking any modern day game and be able to scale it to the original Xbox or the PlayStation 2. You know what I mean? Right. Like, no matter how many features I try to take away, right? Like that, so there is a diminishing return on that. But Switch is a perfect example of this, right? Like Switch is not a powerful piece of hardware,
Right.
like regardless of what you want to call it, but can I scale things back in a way on a smaller resolution screen? How do I tune it in a way for it to be able to fit within this box? And there's a lot more flexibility in modern day games today. We build a game. How can I say this? So think of like a game back in the day, like a say 32-bit generation, like N64 PlayStation generation, right? Those the good games were flaming yawn, right?
Right.
Right, just really tender, very low fat steak, right?
Yeah.
Modern day games are Wagyu. They got a lot of fat that we don't need. Does that make sense? But it does make it taste good. If you get where I'm going with that.
Absolutely.
Get where I'm going with that. So
yeah.
We don't need all that fat in a lot of games. We don't need the highest resolution textures on a game. I like that stuff. That's the reason why I buy high-end hardware. That's why I'm being about the HDMI 2.1. Like I want every feature possible on everything, right? But the reality is we don't need it to make the mechanics and make the game functionally work, if that makes any sense.
No, makes a lot of sense.
So there's a lot of flexibility in that. And then sometimes there's bottlenecks on things, right? So sometimes you can't brute force things into a higher frame rate, no matter how much you try or how much money you spend, right? Like just there's limitations in certain areas, right? So they're not scalable. So sometimes there is that stuff, but it's graphics are very scalable. That's something that's my expertise, and so like I just don't buy into the fact that you can't do it. It's just a matter of time and money and how much energy you put into something, and are you gonna get your return? That's the other thing, right? So
right,
you think about every modern day game. A lot of ways you can put it on a Switch, but is it going to be worth your investment no matter how good the Switch is doing? Or are you going to get a return on the investment because it's going to take a little bit more work and effort, say, than more powerful hardware? You may not. And that's the reason why you don't see the same support for the Switch as you do for the other consoles. Right? So, that's just what it comes down to. So.
And that's when, and I was just looking up right now, like because you was bringing up that point about the Switch right now, and this is amazing, right? Okay, so I mean the game was reviewed horribly, but the Lords of the Rings Gollum, that's releasing on the Switch at the end of the year. Hogwarts Legacy is going to release on the Switch, and NBA 2K24, and this blows my mind. Mortal Kombat 1 is going to release on the Switch this year in September. Well, I mean, that you just proved the point. Yeah.
Add to that, the Switch is less powerful than a PS4 or Xbox One.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right.
So to bring that up, so that's just kind of where we're at. And so like when gamers express these sort of viewpoints, they were right at one point in time. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But it's evolved and they haven't, right? And so it challenges their knowledge base, so it becomes very personal. Sometimes people get offended on that sort of stuff. But the reality is there's just more to it. Anyone that works in the industry understands that in regards to that. So it's just about time and money and what you're willing to invest. And yeah, it's always easier to develop on more powerful hardware, right?
Yeah.
Always harder on lesser powerful hardware, but that's the job. I mean, I can break. You can buy the most powerful piece of hardware kit right now, and I can start developing my game, and I can break that hardware in literally an hour, to the point where it can't even run 10 frames per second, right? Like, it's not hard. You know what I mean? So
I'm sure.
Is it necessary? No. Does it make the gameplay any better? No. So then you have to figure that out, right? Like a lot of times you figure where you can stress something and you bring it back down in regards to that. And that's just part of the process. It's how it happens. in regards to that. So I mean, it's a little bit hard for people to grasp, but I think with time and generations, people are going to learn. And then these older generation, gamers are in our generation that haven't evolved, they're going to look silly, in with time, right? Because the newer generation will understand. So I don't know. I'm not overly worried about it, but I will say the biggest thing biggest thing holding back is the idea of split screen. Why the hell are we doing that still? Like,
oh my God, let's talk about that. Okay, so
that drives me nuts.
Oh man, okay, so this has been kind of the big kind of this pile on Forza Motorsport. They came out the other day, and they did a video expressing the things that will not be available at launch for Forza Motorsport. The one that's gotten the most attention is the split screen. They just said that they'll still work on trying to bring it, but therefore it will take time. And then the other one is the online AI will not be there at launch. And then the other one was spectator mode when playing online. That will not be available at launch. And so, of course, like I said, the biggest thing that people have been kind of piling on Turn 10 and the Xbox is because of the fact that there's no split screen. And of course, there goes the talk about the Series S holding back the Series X, and they might need to just discontinue the Series S and stop trying to sell it. Oh yeah, no, they're going crazy. And I mean, it's not only just been PlayStation stands, it's been Xbox gamers as well that has kind of followed suit and agreed.
Yes, but what are they going to do
maybe
about
they should.
My answer is, what are you going to do about the 4060 they just released and the 4070 they just released?
Oh my goodness. They don't think about that stuff because that's PC. They don't care about PC. They're only caring about the situations with the consoles. But your thoughts about this? First off, with me also adding to it, should Turn 10 just came out and said these things beforehand, or just kind of let it just be there and let people look for it, find it, and then complain about it, and then they talk about it? I mean, some people are also saying that maybe they're just talking a little bit too much to kind of set themselves up for this type of scrutiny.
Yeah, I mean, you do open yourself up. I think when you're addressing the audience, and I don't really think you should release a game with less features than the previous generation of a game.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to be judged against yourself on that when you're a popular franchise. So you have to release with the feature set that you did on previous generations and maybe a little bit more, maybe just to edge more. You don't have to do a lot, but just at least something more so that the customer feels good about it. So the AI, and I didn't do a lot of multiplayer, but I don't remember AI multiplayer being a thing.
It's there. It was there. It's like when people drop out.
Yeah, but it wasn't there at launch, is what I'm saying previously.
Okay.
So like you'll play like the campaign stuff and you'll see other people's drivatars, right? Like that's still there, right? And that's a main feature of the campaign, but the other stuff, I don't remember that being in multiplayer, definitely at launch. So I'm more worried about stability, things like that. So really, I judge it from the feature set that's not there at launch, that was there on previous iterations. That's how I personally judge games. So you can judge it from the split screen thing, even though I think it's stupid. What was the third feature that was?
It was spectator mode through online mode. So
yeah,
so for instance, I guess if you drop out, or if you just wanted to watch people play while being on, watching online races or something like that. I don't know. I've never used it, so I never even really paid attention to that. I mean, for me, if you wanted to watch people race instead of participating in the race, why don't you just watch them on Switch, or on Twitch or YouTube or something like that, or TikTok or whatever, just watch their stream. But
I
don't know.
think that's addressing the lobby situation. So sometimes you jump on previous versions of Forza, you jump into a lobby, and well, the race is already happening. Does that make sense?
Right.
There's already a race happening, so you can spectate that race. I think that's what they're talking about.
I thought that could be what it is. Yeah,
I think you're killing time until you can get into that race pack with everybody else.
Okay.
Regardless, whoever sticks along for that matchmaking, essentially. So I can see that. I mean, is it end of the world? No. Does it make it a little bit more boring? Does it affect the overall experience? Yeah, it can affect the overall experience. Now, the split screen thing drives me nuts. It's a waste of resources and time in regards to, we grew up in the split screen generation. No one loved it. I have never met someone at our age that was experiencing it at that time that loved it. I remember people cutting up cardboard dividers and putting it up against their television so people won't look at their damn screen, right?
Right.
And GoldenEye and older versions of Halo. So personally, I think split screen is a waste of time and energy in regards to that. I mean, how much does it cost to get like a 1080p monitor today?
Not much.
Like $100. I looked at this. $100.
Yeah. Oh man, goodness. Yeah.
Nothing crazy. Like just a and a 27-inch. Guess what? That's way bigger screen size than my 13 or 15 inch as a kid. Right? They had the big old fat back on it, and I had to do a split screen on top of that. Forget that, right? Like, no, I can buy a new monitor for $100. I can stream it from my tablet to that device.
A 40-inch 1080p for $150.
Yeah, and how much is a smart television that you can do Xbox whatever on it?
200, and there's a Hisense for 129 45-inch. And the highest I've seen is a 60-inch. Is a 60-inch for $280. Yeah. Like, as a matter of fact, they're like, you have to order them because there's no 1080p televisions available in the store. Like I'm looking at like, what this one particular store. This is at what store is that? That's Best Buy, and then now you can still pick up a 1080p at Walmart.
My point is this, right? Like the money you save on Game Pass. Let's say you do Game Pass, you don't buy 6 games. You can literally buy a monitor in a Series S instead of having to share a damn screen.
That's it.
But if you're homie or anything, like if you do the math, like I'm already spending that same amount of money, I'm just reallocating how I do it, right? As a gamer, I can have a second display for my homie, right? Or my child, or whatever it may be, right? And I get an S, or hell, I can get a Xbox One S, and then what it can't play, you stream the rest of the stuff for them.
Yeah, that's right? Yeah,
an older console streaming with like a most budget TV or monitor that you can buy is a better experience than split screen, because if you have to render everything twice, you lower the quality, you have to share the screen, you have a weird format. It's not a good experience. Like, no, why are we advocating for this? Like, literally, I'm in a room that's the size of like a small bedroom, right? I have 4 displays here. 4 displays. Like, you don't have to do much to get a better gaming experience and not spend any more money. That's what I'm. That's what I'm trying to get at. And if you have an older generation console, just dust that shit off. Get yourself a cheap monitor. You're good to go.
And you're solid, right? I got the Xbox One X sitting up in the closet right now, and I got the S already in the front room. So, yeah, that's my thing too. Is like I was trying to explain to people online this week, was just basically saying, look, if you're a modern gamer, you have multiple televisions. You have multiple ways of trying to get through and see. I haven't even think about like the older consoles or like just if it's that serious to where you have somebody come over, you can buy a 20 inch or a cheap monitor or a 1080p television, have and buy a Series S, and you would still be golden. Like, I mean, and then of course, like, you can communicate, you can still play, you can be in the same room together, and they could have their own screen, or they could be in the other room or whatever. Like, the only games that to me that still is viable at this time that isn't split screen are fighters and it's really fighters. I mean, I'm trying to think of there's got to be one more type of game like when my daughter comes over and my son, but it's mostly my daughter's. Like, she's ridiculous with it. She wants to play Worms all the time, but she still can't beat me. She came over last night and wanted to play Worms, and she got me to the last worm, but I took her out. But like that, but that's not a split screen. That is in one screen. You're competitive. You all get down, and that's it. But the split screen thing, you're right. I didn't enjoy it. Nobody else really enjoyed it. When I first found out about the LAN parties within Halo,
yeah.
I never went back to the split screen. I'm like, bro, I don't even want to do the split screen. And yes, and one time we did the split with the cardboard. We did that one time at my house, you know what I'm saying? Because I had a big screen, and then I was playing a PlayStation 3 game, and we put the cardboard right in the middle. But the cardboard kept falling because we was trying to stick it between the ends of the television and from the top to the bottom, and it would flop because of the air conditioner with copper. It was awful. Like, and I never did it again. So yeah, no, split screen is it's over.
Back to your point with the LAN parties. I think we need to talk about this.
Oh, let's talk about that.
How heavy was your damn TV you had to carry over to your friend's house?
Oh my God.
How heavy?
It was very heavy. Very heavy.
And did you have to fold the seats down to fit it in your vehicle?
I had an Amigo, so it was in the back. It was in the back of the trunk. So, if you want to call the,
but you get what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah.
You would rather carry that heavy ass boat anchor to your
every
friend's
Sunday
house
night
than share a damn screen with your friend.
Yes, every Sunday night I would carry that television out of the damn front room because I didn't want to use the little tiny room, TV that my son had. I gotta have a good screen and carry that big bastard in there, put it in there, and bring it in there, just like every other crazy ass person that was there for Halo night.
For people
do LAN parties.
For people never been to like a LAN party of that generation, like,
oh my God, man, best stuff ever.
Everyone carried one of those big old bitches to someone's living room, stack it on milk crates, and then and there was always a couple people that didn't bring their own screens, right, for like LAN parties, right? So there's a couple people that had to share. How many people? How many people have shared? It was like less than 1% at the ones I've been to. Right?
Well, our LAN party was at a game. His name was Frosty. He was the son's. His dad owned a video game store.
Okay.
And so that's where we would have our Halo nights at. But there would be guys that would bring other people, and then those guys would have to do the split screen. And they would get wiped because they would be complaining the whole damn time. Because the screen is too damn small. It doesn't matter. You're not coming over here. You're not messing with me. I don't even know you. So we're over here. So yeah, you're right.
You'll have a 55. You're like, man, can I share with you? Nope.
No.
Nope. Yeah. So this whole split screen idea, like, I understand trying to be courteous to all gamers. Like I do. Yeah. I do understand that, but we're in a different time, right? Like that mentality's got to evolve to some point. And I'm not saying like someone who doesn't have the budget or be unsensitive to that, right? Like, it's obtainable for anybody with any budget now to have multiple displays in multiple ways to broadcast that game to that display. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
So the need for that whole split screen experience is just, I would like to see the numbers. I mean, obviously there's a push for that, but like the actual numbers of people to participate, I guarantee you, is extremely low. In regards to so like my nephew, he's a funny example. So growing up, I've been to his house where he had him and his brother. They're about a couple years apart from one another, right? And they had the main TV on one side, and on the flip side of the stairwell they had, right, they had two like 15 or 17-inch televisions there and two consoles, so they didn't have to do split screen on any game. They're right next to one another. Both displays on monitor arms just right there for them to play. So like that was, that's, the perfect example. Like that's a generation that didn't do split screen, right? And so our generation did it a lot more. I think there's a nostalgia for people to, I guess, enjoy that. I don't know, man. I don't like sitting that close to somebody else and their body odor, and they're generating their own human heat. Like, no, that's not a good gaming experience. In regards to that. So, yeah, that I think is one of those things. Like, I can't judge Forza for that. I get it from a principle standpoint, but I can't judge them. I can't judge any game for that, to be honest with you.
I just don't. I just rather them just say, "Look, we're just not going to do it." We apologize to try to, that for those that want split screen, but I don't know.
It could be it could be simple as saying, unfortunately, we know the people that do look forward to this feature, but it's a feature we're no longer supporting. Microsoft does that shit all the time with Windows.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and you just go, it's a feature we're no longer supporting. We appreciate the support up to this point, and we will continue to make ways to make gaming affordable for everybody, right? Like make it approachable and affordable for everybody, and they have been. Like that's not like even stretching the truth. Like you can play older consoles, you can stream on your older consoles, you can stream on your older PC that's underpowered, right? You can play on your new PC locally that's powered. You can play on any hardware under your television, the Series S and X, that's all built for the consumer in mind in regards to that. So I don't really think this is, it's just kind of a moot point. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. No, I try to wrap my head around the fact that there's people that still clamor for it. Right. But I think it's only just because it's a feature that's been around for so long. But it's like you said, people don't use it like that. And the excuse that was thrown to me, and I don't want to, dog people out who says this, because I'm sure that it's true. But they're like, well, what about family that comes over? What about if I want to have a friend to come over and play the game with me? But it's just like the point that you just said. Like, I mean, you have multiple televisions. I mean, and also I was saying, like, look, I know that in most homes there is at least a laptop, there's a phone, there's a computer, there is access to playing this game on multiple devices. And if that person doesn't have an account, you can still play as a guest. Because I have my one homeboy that comes through, and maybe we'll play certain games want you to have an account, but then you put them in as a guest. Or I even have my wife's gamer tag, and they can play under my wife's name if they want to, because it's just about the gaming experience. It's not about them trying to get achievements or anything like that. And then they can play it either on the, like you said, the S, or if you don't have but only just one console, you got Game Cloud, you got X Cloud, you got so many other factors that are more modern, and it's more user friendly because you have your own screen. You don't have to worry about it.
It's a better experience.
Yeah, it's just a better experience overall.
Yeah, right? like how many homes I know have. I mean, we don't even use tablets really in our house, but every home I go to, they have tablets, right? Like that you can stream xCloud. I mean, you have 13 and 14-year-old kids, they have powerful enough phones to stream xCloud. Like, these are what's going on, in the world as far as all that stuff is concerned.
Right.
So, like, the idea of that sort of stuff is just different. So, Cali Rex, to your point on split screen Takes Two. Yeah, I mean that was a creative little indie title. It's not pushing the limits of anything, and there's nothing wrong if that's what they want to do. They want to do a couch co-op experience, but like that's the exception. That's not the norm. If you get where I'm going with that's a very unique game in regards to that. So we're talking like, games that are a little heavy on the resources in regards to that, and it's just not something that's really done a whole lot. And if someone does, like, I'm not hating on them,
Right.
but just there's so many options that are probably not costing them any money, and if they have a second controller, they can make it happen through streaming, through modern day. You can buy a television these days that's not a smart television. If that makes any sense, right? I try to. I want my monitor TV, and I'm like, I don't want any smart features. Too bad. You're getting this on top of everything else. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
do
they want to keep it alive? No. Developers, I would say, majority of developers do not want to keep it alive. Some publishers may want to keep it alive for the goodwill of certain gamers that would complain if that feature wasn't there. I would say that's more accurate. I don't, unless it's part of the game design and it's essential. They would rather not waste their time doing that.
Right. And it's just like with Baldur's Gate, because it has split screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to play split screen playing a game like that. I mean, I get it. Like, my thought process is different from another person's thought process, but it's more of the thing to me is that, especially PC gamers, I mean, you have all these, monitors, and, you got access. You kind of don't want, it's like, a lot of people don't want to kind of be crowded with other people jumping around with them. Like, I'd rather play with a friend online. Even if we're in the same house, that's great. But if not, then, that's the whole reason of online gaming. And so, like, the split screen, like, I mean, that would be because I will get Baldur's Gate, and most likely I'll probably get it on PC. But that's like if when my homeboy comes through that wants to play the game, that's not going to be a game I'm going to introduce to him. Because first off, he would probably dig it, but that's just not, that's just one of those things. Like, it's not like their game is huge. Like, they're talking about like over 150 hours to beat the game. I think somebody said they did a speed run and they done it in like 70 to 80 hours or whatever, but the game is massive. So how much of an experience is that person going to have with you with a split screen? Now, again, if somebody has a budget and it's more of a thing to where these guys don't have the resources and they only have just one monitor, then I get it. But you can hustle. I mean, hell, if they're young and they can go hustle and cut some yards, and they can get them a monitor somewhere for $50.
Watch out! You know what I'm saying? You don't want to start sounding like Don Matrick, but
I'm not trying to sound like Don Matrick, but I'm just saying in reality, like, look, man, if you like. There's plenty of opportunities to sit there. I'm not trying to say that, like, I don't know, man. I the split screen thing, yeah, if you like it, that's cool. But as a person who's dealt with split screen for years, I don't ever want to go back. I just don't. I like my personal screen. I just love it. So
yeah, well, last point I would say about split screen, like
he said Don Matrick.
So sometimes me and my wife we co-stream, right? So so we'll play Sea of Thieves. Our monitor is like $5. There you go.
Yeah, see, like $5. So yeah, you don't even got to cut a yard. I mean, damn, you can
hang a
look
cup
under the couch.
You can hang a cup outside of the DI.
Yes, you can get $5. You can find $5 and change in your house, in your cars, or outside.
I will make a mug that says "in split screen," so people can have mugs in front of DI.
Oh my god, that is perfect.
Get a display.
That is perfect.
But on this last point, so like obviously, like my wife, we play Sea of Thieves. She plays literally on the other side of this wall, right? So like we're not even in the same room. I'm like, go play over there. Go play on that screen over there. And then one night we did. She wanted to do some fighters. She actually likes playing some fighting games. So
excellent. Your wife is a queen, a champion.
So it didn't make any sense at the time to install it on the PC. It wasn't a Play Anywhere title. Does that make sense? So it wasn't like it was another console. So it made more sense to just do on camera in front of one another. Oh my gosh, we weren't even split screen. I'm like, get your elbow off my elbow. Get like, I mean, I share a bed with this woman. And I didn't even want to share my 55-inch television, man. Like I get it. Everyone's a little bit different, man. Everyone's a little bit different. But no, I think if a developer wants to do it, there's nothing wrong with it. It's part of their design. If they want to do a little niche, so be it. But majority of games, it is one of those features that does hold back gaming. If people ask, do different consoles hold back gaming? I'll tell you what really holds back gaming. The idea of split screen. Split screen will hold back your game. It will take too much of your resources. It's a little... Basically, you're taking your resources, you're cutting it in half. There's one thing to say games are incredibly flexible, but the one thing to take all your resources and say, now cut it to 50%. It's really hard to do. So that's the world that we live in, and I really feel like... if it was a different time where you're asking more of the consumer, it'd be a little bit different. But since it's not asking a lot of the consumer these days, and most consumers already have the resources, they just don't know it. Does that make sense?
Right.
You don't think about it. Then that would be kind of the scenario I would set out there. So yeah, it's definitely obtainable. There's no doubt about it. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we can move on and talk about we haven't. There's been a lot of stuff that I've been talking about here in the last couple of weeks. I guess we'll end the show with talking about Killer Instinct. So I don't know if you heard about that news, but we'll talk about that at the end. But I guess we'll talk about Xbox's marketing strategy. That was a big thing a couple of weeks ago, where a YouTuber came out, or a content creator made a point that was just basically, they said that Apple should buy Xbox. Xbox should just sell, Microsoft should just sell Xbox because they don't know how to market. And this was all stemming from because we haven't heard anything from Starfield a couple of weeks ago. We're starting to get trickle after trickle of Starfield's information now. But do you feel that Microsoft's or Xbox and their approach is a little too slow, or do you feel that just in the climate of how today is, that they just use analytics and they take it from that standpoint? Because I mean, we don't see certain things in our face like we would with something from PlayStation, or I would just say mostly PlayStation, because Nintendo doesn't really always throw stuff in your face either. But should Microsoft just do better at it and compete on that same level as PlayStation, or you just find the way that it is right now?
It's hard to say, because like I think they look at a much broader picture, I think, than the average critic would be of Xbox in regards to that. I mean, how many people watch cable television these days? Like how many people, like there's so many ways to market your product these days to make it relevant. It's interesting. Anything from someone, like think about, like, Starfield's going to be big. Like right. we all know it is. Like, and we all know, like, even that's not that interested, I'm going to try it out. I'm going to stream at least a couple days, give it a shot. I'm going to give it like a week shot, see if I get into it or not, right? How many people are going to be doing the same thing intentionally for views? How many people are going to be sharing out clips for all that sort of stuff? They look at all that sort of stuff, and that carries weight. Do they look at it correctly? I don't know. I'm not. I don't know all the ins and outs to criticize all that sort of stuff. But I know marketing is different. for companies. It's about stickiness. It's about giving views, keeping people engaged for longer. Longer you keep people engaged, the more willing someone's willing to give up their money in regards to that. So I think what you're seeing is a little more outrage of people highly anticipating a game and have expectations that are not being met, that were never promised.
Okay.
In regards to that. And people always refer to what traditionally has been done in the past, and there's some merit to that, but there's also some merit to the world's changing, and you have to evolve to some degree in regards to that. So to me, like, it hasn't even affected me because I haven't been really that interested in Starfield. You know, for example, like I'm not itching. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, it comes out in 17 days. Right? Like, oh, that's right. What else do I need to get done before then? Like, that's all I'm thinking about, right? You know, case it does grab me, catches me off guard, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the world that we're in regards to. And I can't think of a better marketing tool than Game Pass, right? You start thinking about like what Game Pass actually is. Like, it's a very low barrier to entry. You don't even have to have a freaking console to play the games half the time, right? Because of xCloud and how all that stuff works. So you literally, your barrier to entry to that game is, it's easier to get into Starfield than it was any 8-bit or 16-bit era game was when we grew up. Think about that.
Right.
With rentals and all that other stuff. It's cheaper and easier to get into that. So that accessibility plays a big part in all their strategy and what's going on there. So yeah, I just don't really think people should be worried pocket watching Xbox on that. If they're interested in the game, cool. If they're not, I get it. Nothing personal, and just keep it moving, because there's plenty of gaming out there that it doesn't matter in regards to that. But no, I just think they have a different way of marketing that's been obviously different for a while. They've been moving to the social media model for a while, and they've been doing the other stuff on top of that. And like, you know, people don't use cable anymore. People, I mean, half the time people go to YouTube, go to click on they want to search a commercial, have to watch another commercial, hit the skip button to watch that commercial for the movie they wanted to see what was coming out. You get where I'm going? Like, that's the economy that we're in. Like, people are watching commercials so they can watch the next commercial. Like,
that is true. Yeah,
that is the world. You know, just, it's ridiculous. So it's hard to really know. Like, you know, I remember people making fun of Xbox's YouTube channel when it first came out. Like, they only had so many subscribers. But yeah, they just started it. Like, they started acknowledging it was important. Now look at how many millions and stuff like that. Obviously surpassed anything we've done, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So, by a mile.
So
a few, like by galaxy. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just kind of how that stuff goes, and that's a marketing tool for them. Right? Like, how many millions of eyes that they know they've seen those products, or those products associated with Game Pass. And that's the great thing, is every time they marketing Game Pass, they're marketing all their other products and all their other partnerships. And it's really like a vertical integration of marketing. They don't have to market all these individual things. Like, think about like the nightmare like Sony has to market, right? They have to market some weird standalone console thing. Yeah, you know, not the PlayStation 5, but not the standalone console, but the streaming device is what I was referring to. Right.
Yeah.
You know, then you have the standalone console, right? So that gets bundled with like the discless and the disc model, and then you have VR, right? They all work together, but there's not like one marketing solution for all that sort of stuff, right? So they have to spend more money for each one of those devices to get the word out, to get people to buy it, right? Microsoft just has to do one thing, and how you decide to get there is up to you. So there is a little bit of a consolidation, and it's a little bit of a genius aspect of things in regards to that. And at the end of the day, too, like, it's also on PC. Like, we talk about the console sales, like, watch the PC side of things.
Oh yeah,
on this game.
It's in the top top three.
It's going to
something like that on
destroy
PC?
for years on the PC side of things. Like, it's not going to have short legs. It's going to have really long legs. So, and this has come from somebody that's really not all that interested in the game. You know what I mean? You can still acknowledge where it will be successful. So, I mean, I tell you right now, even if I love the game, I can tell you right now, as soon as Forza comes out, I'm out.
You out?
I'm
you
out. I'm out.
You
Good or not?
You give it in a month. Give it in a month.
Yeah. Good or not, I'm out once Forza comes out.
You said, yeah. I will be on Forza, but I still will be on it on Starfield. It's now got me anticipating it. I was where you was at, like, you know, they ain't showing nothing but a door and this and that, but now I'm kind of like, but now I'm like, oh yeah, that direct did it for me. For me, I mean, and you're right, like, people don't watch television like that anymore. But I do look at it from this perspective, is that people do watch sporting events. People do watch Adult Swim. People do watch, like, you know, some certain, you know, well, people watch reality television, stuff like that. Now, I don't, or like the, you know, Grammys or the music awards, stuff like that. They watch live events and stuff like that.
So let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Do they consume it the same way they did before?
Sports, yes.
So it's always cable that, or do you think most of it's moved online?
No. Sports is still dominant on cable.
The cable.
Now, like,
I don't know. So that's,
yeah, but now Adult Swim, you know, stuff like that. I'm sure that people will stream that, but there's still a base there. Like, because the reason why I'm saying Adult Swim or Toonami is because there's a fan base that still watches, because they advertise. Nintendo even advertises that in those slots. So, like, for me, like, they don't have to put the big thing. I mean, that would be cool if they would do like a Starfield or something like that. But that's more for me. It's like for the smaller titles, because that's where, you know, like for, like, I'm thinking High Five Rush, or for, you know, Game Pass, for that to announce those type of smaller titles that, you know, that doesn't garner a lot of attention, but just to get you to think about, like, oh, okay, this game looks kind of cool or whatever, you know. And sporting events, that's where you do the big stuff, especially, like, you know, the baseball playoffs is about to start. NFL, it's about to start here. We've already got the preseason. NBA, it doesn't start until October, but then there's the world basketball leagues, prelims or whatever, they're out. That garners a lot of attention. The women's WNBA, golfing events, like, there's still, like, sports is still prominent, and that still draws a lot of attention. I don't see why you don't put a Starfield into a sporting event, into, like, you know, into a couple of sporting events, or even you know, or even like, let's just say a big time live, you know, like music awards or something like that. You know, I'm not, you know, the Oscars or something like that. That'd be kind of weird, but still, regardless, sporting events is mostly the biggest thing. That's the thing for me, is that I feel that garners the eye of the casual. Mm-hmm. Because the casual will look on, we'll be on the YouTube, things like that, but they're already overshadowed by PlayStation or something else. Okay, so I don't see a lot of Xbox commercials anywhere. Maybe that's because I'm an Xbox content creator, and so therefore maybe they already know that they got me. So they probably, I don't see as much, but I do see a lot of PlayStation. I see some Nintendo, but I see tons of PlayStation stuff all the time.
So let me ask you the question. So, like,
yeah.
So keep in mind, this is not to scale, but just simple math, right? Like, say I gave you $100 for a marketing budget, and you can market your in any place you want, right? Social media, YouTube, Vimeo, if you wanted to, right? Sports. How would you divide that $100 up in marketing?
Okay, I would put 50 in social media.
Okay.
And then I would put 20, I would put 25 into sporting events. And then I would break down everything else within like Toonami or big budget movies that's coming out. Like that those would be the things that I would focus on. Like, but I understand social media, social media is where all the eyes are. Like, I mean, that is the so I put most of my money in that. But sporting events is very big because that gets the casual market. Big movie theater premieres, that gets the casual market. And then, like I said, then like the smaller stuff for like a Toonami or for Toonami or for Adult Swim, those things like that. I mean, I like when I was bringing up like, the Oscars and stuff like that or music awards, that would be fine, but that would, $5. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that ain't nothing like I would, but yeah, no, I that's where I would divvy up.
Yeah. So the thing I question about the movie portion of it, and there's no right or wrong answers on any of this sort of stuff, right?
Right.
Movies have been incredibly inconsistent. They haven't been very bankable, if that makes any sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Viewership right now. So the question is well, you imagine Disney would charge a premium for like the next Marvel movie, but not all the Marvel movies have been, swinging a hit, right? Like they used to be, right? So far as eyes go, like if you you like one of their movies or not, you like all their movies, that's irrelevant. I'm just talking about just in general, right? So, you pay a premium and then you happen to get the one Marvel movie that doesn't get any eyes on it. You're like, that money could have gone to somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then there's other movies like that do really good, like Top Gun did, right? And so, like, who would have, I was interested in Top Gun, but I didn't think Top Gun would do that well. You know what I mean?
No.
Right. So it's one of those sort of things. So it's a very volatile market. So how do you divvy that up? Like you can say like on sports, you can say it's pretty bankable. I would guess is closer you get to playoffs of any type, right? Like you think about if your game lines up, let's say with the Super Bowl, right? You start heavily advertising during the the leading teams going into the Super Bowl, but do you market it in October if you don't have any games coming out? Oh, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean that's the World Series though in October.
But you get where I'm going.
Yeah.
So,
no, I get what you're going. Yeah, I get what you're going. Yeah.
It's the same thing with what do they call that in the basketball season for all the colleges?
March Madness.
Like that'd be a great time to market, I would guess.
Absolutely.
Right? Because the eyes ramp up, right? They get more excited, right? Like you have there's always like a sports fan that likes a particular sport, but once it starts getting the cream of the crop, people start getting interested, right? More interest, more eyes on something. And then the eyes start consolidating from all the other games to this one event at the end in regards to that. So it's interesting. I don't know how marketing is. I think people that consume traditional media, I don't think Xbox has as big of a presence. I mean that's fair enough.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't have to be everything. Like, I mean, Game Pass is a seller as it is. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I don't hear like, I'll hear somebody bring up like if they hear something about like Halo coming out or something like that, like from, casual family or friends, they'll bring up something about, oh yeah, and there's a new Halo, something coming out or whatever. But I don't really hear about the Game Pass stuff. Like if it's somewhere where somebody brings up something about like on Xbox and they was thinking about buying this game and I'm like, that game's on Game Pass. What's that? Like, that's what that's type of stuff was what makes me kind of hold and pause. Like, I mean, how is it that this person doesn't know this, but they know that this Final Fantasy 16 is coming out, right? Like, well, that looks like a really fun game or something like that or whatever. But that's what they'll tell me or something. But they're like, I don't have a PlayStation or whatever like that, and I'm not going to spend no $500 for a PlayStation for just one game. That's what they'll tell me. But when I have to tell them about Game Pass, and for the people that knows about Game Pass or signed up for it, they're excited about it. Like, they're like, oh man, I'm saving so much money. And then of course the new game comes here and that. You don't see enough of that. And I understand that, like,
yeah,
that's the only thing for me. I totally get it. I don't agree with what Smooth was talking about in the sense of what he was bringing up, but I do feel that there is a void in certain areas, and it doesn't have to be every game that comes out, but I do feel that Starfield is going to get the attention that it deserves. I do think that, but let's talk about like Forza. Forza will do well if going into having a commercial during the World Series, or in the pennant race, during the baseball playoffs, or or a racing event. Like there's usually things like that. Like, sports is always going to be always going to have eyes.
Yeah,
always going to have eyes, and so I don't know. And like I said, like for High Five Rush, as I'm looking at the gameplay right there, that's an Adult Swim stuff right there. That would be really dope. Or at a movie theater for let's just say the Mario movie. Me and my wife just got finished watching the Mario movie like Monday night. It was on Sunday. It was Saturday night. Saturday night. I really enjoyed it. Like if you like those type of things like that, it's just put that shit there. That's all I want. I mean, that's all what I'm saying. It don't have to be something that's always popping in my face, but surprise me every once in a while. That's the only thing I'm talking about. But I get it. Like, they look at analytics, and
I think you're looking at more of like a target market.
A target market for the casual market.
Or for what the game is. Does that make sense? Right.
Yeah.
So, do a little bit of a broader brushstroke on certain things, but some things, this is your target audience. Market here. Put your stuff here. Put your eyeballs here, right? Because they're already there. I mean, then again, I'm not going to pretend I understand all the ins and outs of marketing and stuff like that.
Me neither. I don't. I just, I'm just talking from a passionate perspective. I have no idea what their budget is, how far their reach can go. I mean, that's they know that, but
I would say you're onto something though with the messaging, like the messaging between like Game Pass, like you have to. The conversation from like a gamer, like a casual gamer, to a gamer like yourself, it should not be this much of a gap. That's a failure on Xbox's part in regards to that. So, like, say you have a targeted Halo ad, right? Boom, the new Halo. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows what that is. You can, and all of a sudden just do like the little splash. Get it on Game Pass. With Game Pass Ultimate, you can, just like spit it out like the Micro Machine Man right at the end. Exactly. or like a drug commercial that may cause vomiting or whatever it may be. Like, get all the details out. And they may not catch it the first time, but then the second time, the fourth time, each time you pay for one of those ads, it starts sinking in more and more and more. And then you can have that conversation. Oh, you don't have to buy a console. It's better if you get a console, but you don't have to buy a console. Oh, okay. Right? Like, well, I already own a PlayStation. Well, can I play on it? No, they don't allow that, but you can stream it on your PC. You can stream it. You have a smart television, like see if they have the app. You can do whatever it may be, right? Like you can do whatever you want. So like I would say in general, I think there's a lot to it, but they just need to like condense it, make it simple, wrap it up. It doesn't mean they can't have a focus on a game and then also make it about Game Pass, right? Game Pass is Xbox is Game Pass. Like, it's all part of the same thing. It's part of their vision, right? Like, execute on it. Like,
Yeah, like they'll show a really dope commercial. Like I remember one of the last ones where they, it was musical and it had the music and people were running around and they all ran into, like one person jumped out of a plane and they showed a clip of Forza Horizon, and then another person was doing something and they showed Minecraft, and then they showed like, Master Chief, and then everybody kind of gathered together. And then they show like this big Xbox, like painted against a building or something like that. Like that was fun. But those are the commercials that they show. Like they show like a combination of these games, but they don't ever do a individual game. Like, even when they were showing like Final Fantasy 16, it was the most generic, cheap commercial, but I seen it a bunch of times. You know what I'm saying? Like you could tell it was budgeted as hell. Like they would just show it was like a 30-second clip of Final Fantasy 16, and then it always would crack me up because they would show the main character screaming, and then they would just go from there and like get it on PlayStation 5 exclusive, whatever. But obviously that still had eyes on it. Even though they looked at it and it was like, oh, that game really looked like that, that'll make somebody go to the internet and check it out, or pick up their phone and check it out if they're interested, right? And it also lets you know if they're a PlayStation owner that, oh, that game's on PlayStation. Maybe I need to check it out, or maybe my kid might be interested in it. Maybe ask them about them or whatever. Xbox doesn't seem to do that with individual games. Now, I'm like I said, I think that they're going to definitely do that with Starfield, but they just need to do it with other games like that. I mean, the High Five Rush is just that game. Like it should be in Toonami. It should have been like during some animation movies. Just to be shown to let people know, look, this game is here. Now they didn't know. We didn't know that game. I mean, it was a secret drop. Like we didn't know if this game was going to be good or not, but once it started getting the acclaim, they should have started working on just a little small ad just to bring it out, at least, like I said, to put it on Toonami or something, and then present it, like you said, with Game Pass. Like, we don't see enough of the Game Pass stuff. Like, I see great Game Pass commercials put online, but I never see those commercials on television. I'm sure, like, the chat, let us know if you see them, but I don't see them out here in this region. And from my understanding, there's more people that buys Xbox out here in Oklahoma than they do PlayStations. So, I mean, what I'm saying? The stats could be different now, but from the last time that I checked, which was like, 2021, 2022, like that was more Xboxes that was being sold. And the matter of fact, how I found out even that existed was from when I was looking for a PlayStation 5. When I went to Sam's, and that lady told me like, oh, there's a lot. There's a reason why we got more Xboxes than we do PlayStations. There's just a big, there's more Xbox. There's more players that pick up. Well, she said players. She said more people pick up Xboxes than they do PlayStations. And she said that's a regional thing. And so I was like, what, really?
Yep.
And so yeah.
Well,
so
but that's how console sales are. Period. Right? They have have hot spots where they do really, really well. Like for example, like. Nintendo does really well over here in Utah. So they allocated a shit ton of Switches when it first came out, when they're all hard to get. Mm-hmm. And I remember Bot was like, man, I can't find Switches anywhere. I'm like, every time I go to Target or Walmart, they're always there. They're always in stock. Like if I didn't have it at one of those stores, I was like, they're out. I can easily just go to another store in like the shopping center and go find it. Like they were never hard to get, but that's a lot of times that's how they figure out allegations with certain stores and stuff like that. But that I would say also something interesting about marketing, and this is something that you see a lot, I think, on Xbox, and I think there's a relevancy to your marketing for a certain period of time. So, like, it used to be like the lead up. It was like a build up, years and years of build up, and the game comes out, right? And I think a lot of older gamers are used to that. What you're seeing now is those who know. If you get where I'm going with that. But just before launch, they go hard on the paint. Does that make sense? And they do what I call blitz marketing. They basically put all their eggs in that one basket, and they flood the market however they decide to flood the market, right? And they just go hard on the paint right then and there. And I think there's something to be said about that. I think that's the most relevant marketing for your money, in regards to it. It doesn't really matter what the product is. And I think us older gamers don't like that. We like to be teased. We like that gaming foreplay, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Right,
for a long period
right.
of time, right? You know, so, but in general, like, you know, if you look at a general audience, is people are in and out at a certain time frame. Like they're just like,
That is true.
you know, like, you know, and I'm slowly finding myself in that boat. Like I know about a game years and years in advance, and then the game comes out. Like we were just talking about a couple games earlier today. Like I'm like, oh yeah, that came out. You know what I mean? I just had no idea because they marketed way too far out. But if they did a more of a blitz style marketing, it probably would have garnered my attention. I probably would have been like, oh okay, which is, you need to have enough relevancy for someone that wants to buy the game. They can plan out buying it, but also not stretch too far out where you lose their attention with all the other cool stuff coming out at that time. So
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's not that I don't want people to come and get the idea of like that this is one of those bashing moments, because it's not. It's just I just think that it's like I said, I just feel like that target audience when I'm hearing people that talks about certain things when it comes to gaming, when they ask me questions or whatever, and then I have to tell them about Game Pass when they don't know about it, like that. You should be able to see that. And I know I see what Spider-Man saying. He said he's seen these commercials, but a lot of people that I know, and they are avid TV cable watchers. You know what I mean? Like they just, I don't know, but it is what it is on that. But
I mean, you're not wrong on that sort of stuff. I think if you have to explain Game Pass to a casual, Xbox has failed at marketing at that. I'm just being fair about it, right? Like it should be common conversation. In regards to that, like if they ask you what Game Pass is, like if the person that doesn't own a console asks you what Game Pass is, you've won. Does that make sense? Like you've gotten your message out. It may be relevant to a game or tied to something else, but if you have to explain it to people, and then you get into the weird situation. Well, and then if you buy this version, you can get xCloud. What's xCloud? Okay, you failed.
Right.
You failed. You failed on marketing on the, like, you shouldn't have to, from one gamer to another gamer, the gamer shouldn't have to explain what it is. Does that make sense? You should be at a same level where you're kind of feeding off on that conversation, in regards to that. And that's something that can use a lot of work. I think I try not to be critical in areas where I don't feel like I don't offer anything to the suggestion. But I would say that is something that they could work on, right? Like, it doesn't mean they can't isolate certain projects in Game Pass. I mean, hell, regardless of how many studios they buy up, they're still going to partner up with people.
Right.
Offer free marketing for those companies. Like you already spent the money on the game, right? Spend a little bit more money, advertise the Game Pass with the game. Right, you're killing two birds with one stone. You're consolidating profits or expenditures at that point, in order to make a profit, and keep your product the most relevant. So I think that's the way to go. But that's something that needs work. That's why I don't like. I don't think we ever talked about this. The new tier system they have for Game Pass.
Oh yeah, the core. Yeah. Talk about that. Yeah, because that was something that
I don't like it.
We discussed it. Okay, so
it's not that they're not being fair or anything like that. It just takes too much to explain.
Okay.
From that perspective, too much to explain. In regards to that, and so it has to be simplified.
Type it in.
This is the same thing that Sony did too, right? Like with their service, like they have to simplify it. They have to make it easy for the consumer to understand. I get this, and this. Quick bullet points, 5 seconds. It has to be sticky, and if it's not sticky, then on that sort of thing, then you're failing at the bigger picture, if that makes any sense. which is getting people subscribed and getting people hooked on your service. In regards to, so yeah, I don't remember exactly how it was broken down. I think
I'm looking at it right now. Here we go. Okay, so core is $9.99 a month. Online console multiplayer, catalog of over 25 quality games on console, member deals and discounts. Console, which is $10.99, hundreds of high quality games on console, new games on day one, member deals and discounts. PC, hundreds of high quality games on PC, new games on day one, members deals and discounts, EA Play membership. And then there's the ultimate, hundreds of high quality games and on console, PC, and cloud. New games on day one, membership deals and discounts and perks, online console multiplayer, EA Play membership. They took that one thing out. They took it out. They changed it.
Changed what out?
Thank God. Okay, so there was this one little piece that they had which confused the hell out of me. And I mean, me and Ham Solo was talking about it, and I understood what Ham Solo was saying, where they were saying where one of these cores, and I can't remember if it was the 1099 core or the 999, but I think it was the 999, where it was 25 games and they were all single player games. But yet it said at the bottom or something that it wasn't online. You know what I mean? Like that like, and yeah, and I'm like, what you have to have online in order to play these single player games, because these games get patches. So there will be online, but when you have that in that description, what that tells you is that gives this wrong impression. And so I thought that was what you was talking about.
No, but you know what? Yeah. I remember now.
Okay.
So, but to your point, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm glad they took that out, because that was so odd.
I would not disagree, because that creates the odd conversation between the casual gamer and you, right? Like that's a problem. You need to stop that. You need to look at from that perspective of the conversation happening amongst gamers of all spectrums, right? To the casual, to the more knowledgeable, right? And it's got to be broken down to the most simplest form. That principle is the reason why I hate the division between PC Game Pass and console Game Pass. It is dumb. I don't like it, because now I have to explain, well, there's a different Game Pass for PC. How many of them are? I don't pay attention. I buy the Ultimate. You know what I mean? And so it becomes like, I don't know. I really don't know. And I would consider myself a more informed gamer, right? And so that is a problem. Now you have an informed gamer that doesn't even know what they are. You had to look them up. That's an issue. If you get where I'm saying with that, like, we need to find a way to consolidate that. Like, okay, if you limit, say, hey, maybe have the bottom tier, maybe just be console or whatever, like, you know, free to play games, right? And 25 guaranteed games, right? You know, just keep it simple, right? If it's, you know, you have to make it a little less confusing by leaving more details out, go ahead and leave more details out, but add a game or whatever, right? Like, just, you know, fatten that up a bit. And then, you know, the second tier where, like, technically they're rolling in Xbox Live, right? Don't explain that. Right? Like, online game, you know, online multiplayer on all games. And then you have PC Game Pass as part of it, so you can do either one. And you're guaranteed a certain number of games, say, like, on console, and a certain number of games on PC, because not all the games are available on PC. Not all the games are available on, there's some division there, right?
Right.
But guarantee like a certain number. And then the ultimate one, you get the EA Game Pass with a guaranteed this number of games plus on any device you want, and you get let's say you get xCloud on top of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's real simple to explain. Does that make sense? You get where I'm going with that? That's much simpler to explain, and it's much easier to palate and have that conversation. But the problem with like the division, and I know someone really smart that did the numbers behind the scenes to try to figure out, the business model that works. The problem is they made a business model that works, but they didn't make a conversation that works amongst gamers. That's the fundamental issue with it. So I'm not a fan of how they divided it up. Even though I buy the Ultimate, like the
Shut Up Edition, pretty much.
Yeah, I call it the Shut Up Edition, exactly. But like, regardless if you buy the Shut Up Edition, I should be able to have the conversation like within within one sentence. What it is. I shouldn't have to explain it in details. Like, these should be bullet points that are really simple for everyone to grasp, and I think that Microsoft excels at failing at that on everything they do as a company. Just how they are, they're like a little bit out of touch with that idea and that concept. So yeah, that's something they can really improve upon. It's already out, so I don't see them changing it anytime soon. But when they revise
they did change when they talked about the online aspect, and I seen Spider-Man just saying, "Well, Xbox never had online." I don't. You know exactly what the hell that means. that you have to have in order to play their games online. You have to have Xbox Live. So, you can have you gotta know that you have to have a service provider, but still, but that's no different than anybody that knows if they want to watch a streaming service or anything like that they have to have a
yes,
they got to have online. I mean, I don't know, I know you're just saying, but come on now.
It's just something they can improve upon. It's that communication amongst all gamers, that barrier that happens. If you look at something that I think that holds back the industry as a whole is people that used to be gamers that we lose to time. Does that make sense? Time and energy and other things they have to do. And there's other guys that are like diehard, like people in our chat, us, obviously, that, they're in the know. They'll get even online arguments with one another online, all that sort of stuff, right? Like, they're that level of passion, but it just doesn't. If I can't have a simple conversation, right, that's really easy for someone that used to game in the past, then it's a problem. And then that's something that needs to be addressed as a whole, because Xbox got a lot of aces, right? They got a lot of aces. Like, let's be honest about it. But they're not playing their cards. That's the reality. They have a lot of aces, but they're not playing their cards. And I think it comes down to the conversation amongst I don't even like to use the word casual, just gamers of different knowledge base, right? It shouldn't be like a thing you have to explain to somebody.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Last one. Killer Instinct. I don't know if you heard this news, but it was an Evo that the head of one of the heads, or the lead guy from that's crazy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, came up on stage at Evo at the end and was basically let people know that Killer Instinct was getting an update at this fall. 4K, all the bells and whistles, pretty much balancing updates and things like that. And what was the most surprising was that Iron Galaxy is back working on the game. So they've been working on this new update for I'm assuming for a little bit over a year now. And so now it's going to come out at the end of the year here, coming up here in fall. And then before he walked off stage, because people got hype, it was really I was surprised of how many people got hyped behind it. He said, and he was so excited, he said, and we're glad to have Iron Galaxy back, and we'll be working on Killer Instinct for the next 10 years, which made the other people which definitely let me know that Iron Galaxy will be working on a new iteration of Killer Instinct. You just don't work on an update for 10 years. So they will be working on a new Killer Instinct, whether it be Killer Instinct 2 or whatever that they'll call it. It just, I'm pretty sure that they're just now starting production. So with this update, I believe that they'll be adding a couple of new characters on there going forward to kind of set a balance, look and see with the, work on the net code, work on, just seeing how the game works, what will attract people, get people to come back on. At a steady pace, because they still have. Because I mean, I was playing Killer Instinct last week, and I was still getting matches, and I wasn't playing the same person, which is still unbelievable for a game that's been out for 10 years. But what is your thoughts about that? I don't know if you heard that. Do you think that because I can't. I just don't understand if you would be working on a game for another 10 years that you don't make a new iteration. I just feel that is something that's definitely going to happen. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, that would lead me towards the idea of them building a new IP, and then a new iteration, I should say, altogether, like a whole new game. But that's kind of like the 10-year window you started thinking about, like games as a service. That makes sense. Like that's the goal. If you can get your game to be relevant for 3 years, that's great. But
that's great.
I think you have to have like a target of how far out you may want to change things down the road. You may lessen it or become more, but we've heard this before on Halo. Halo Infinite. This is our 10-year plan, which hasn't been going great for them, let's be honest. But I think it's the mindset they're thinking of when they're building these games out, is games as a service, is a 10-year window. Things may change in regards to, but I think that leads to the hint of a whole new game. And now, remind me correctly, Iron Galaxy is the one that took it over the other studio that got bought by Amazon, right?
Yeah. And see, I had it confused. I thought Iron Galaxy was the one bought by Amazon, and then but no, Iron Galaxy, it was Double Helix that got bought out.
Yeah, that's right.
They got bought. And so Iron Galaxy took over, and they're independent. There's nobody that they're on their own. It's just that Adam Boyes was the guy that was in charge. I'm assuming that he still is, but I don't know, man. I mean, do you think that this could be an opportunity for Xbox to try to want to go after them, so they won't have to worry about it anymore?
Well, I know Adam Boyes came from PlayStation. He kind of leaded up to all those indie relationships, which was awesome. It worked really well for PlayStation at the launch of PlayStation 4 and stuff like that. So he was very pivotal on that. I know he knows a lot of people over at Iron Galaxy, and I think as he became kind of the leader of those guys, he got a lot of stock options and stuff like that. But I wouldn't be surprised that he's the type of guy that's been out there doing his thing for a while. I wouldn't be surprised that he's looking for his golden parachute to move out. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to live in his head a little bit, I mean, that's probably what I would be thinking about.
Right.
Regards that, after X number of years, I retire. It's in good hands, and you pass the torch over to Xbox. What's going to be interesting about this is if they're starting over, which is what my hope is, and trust me, I love how KI came out. I think it becomes a different situation when you're building a game from the ground up. Does that make sense? They took over someone else's project, so they had to work within certain confines of not only KI but someone else's vision of KI. If that makes any sense. No,
that makes perfect sense.
So now they can kind of rethink and rebalance, and they can redo all this sort of stuff because, like say someone's really likes Spinal. You change anything about Spinal, you're going to piss people off, right? You nerf something, you do this or you do that because people have their characters they love. So when you make a new iteration, you have a more elasticity of what you can do with the characters. Perfect example is Street Fighter, right? This latest Street Fighter, I haven't got a chance to play it yet.
Oh, it's so good.
But for I understand, all the main characters have been around, play like the main characters, but play it differently than they ever had before, right?
Yes.
So, but if you took the previous version of Street Fighter and just changed them, you would piss everyone off. Right? Because that game doesn't no longer exist anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
so you do some updates, you keep current KI alive and relevant up until you launch your new KI, and make sure it's feature rich. Don't Make sure the netcode's correct. Make sure you have a good base level roster, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, that makes all the difference. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
And then don't do like the piecemeal way they did it last time. Like
Right.
do the base, all the base characters, all the expected characters, and then you expand upon on that, and that's when you release the product. In regards to that, so yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. If they get to build from the ground up, I'm excited the fact that KI is getting support in regards to that. And they're all working hard because Microsoft's checkbook is open up, and I'm sure anyone that's invested in the company is going to get a good payout. So, and a lot of times, like I got a job offer like not too long ago for a studio out in California, and one of the things they offer was stock options with my pay because they couldn't pay me enough, if that makes any sense, right?
Yeah.
So we'll give you these stock options. This comes with the deal. So that comes, you do see that a lot in regards, because then you're invested in the company growing. If it get
So which means there's an incentive for you to work even harder on your project.
Exactly. It's all about how can we hang that carrot just far enough in front of you that we get the best out of you, right?
Sir.
You just the best.
$1. $1. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's what they're doing there.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. It's I know that we haven't really heard, and I was looking for so I can remember the name of the person that took over for this Xbox fighting division that they signed the former guy from Midway. Of course, he worked with Matt Booty, but I was looking for it, trying to look up on LinkedIn and all that. It's not there anymore, but I know that the studio is still there, right?
Yeah,
so
because they got hired.
That's why. Okay, so
there's a lot of times your stuff goes out there, and one of the requests is the remove all that sort of stuff, because it's also done in good faith too, because you don't want your employer thinking you're looking for another job. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So sometimes you do that for that reason alone, in regards to that. So yeah, it totally makes sense. So
yeah, and so now this even goes even further for me about not only with Killer Instinct now, since now I'm good, I'm happy now. I only have two more requests. That's it. Bring me back some more classics from the Xbox One, which is the Quantum Break or Rise. Maybe make it sweeter by giving me some ReCore 2, which I'll take Rise, Quantum Break. One of those games, right? Like I'll just take one of those and then just call it a day. And then also, bring me something from the 360, like some 99 Nights or the Lost Odyssey, something like that, and then I'm gold. I'm solid. Like, we know that you're going to purchase some more studios and stuff down the line, but I'm solid. I can be a happy man. But the rumors that they were looking for another studio, they went to Bandai Namco looking for a studio to work on a fighter. Everybody was making the assumption that it was going to be for Killer Instinct. Now this is starting to make more sense that this is for this other game that they might be planning, and that is that brawler that is kind of like on the same level as Smash Brothers. It all makes sense now. I think that game would be a massive hit, and it is all going to be according to who they bring in to want to work on this game. But it does scream that, okay, we got Killer Instinct, we can bring this brawler. I say go after Koei Tecmo and get Ninja Gaiden and get Dead or Alive. Just complete the set. Complete it.
If you ask I wouldn't say it's a reasonable request.
Yeah.
Or a logical request. But just as a passionate gamer, yeah, I would like to see them get them for sure.
Mm.
You know, because they brought back Ninja Gaiden with the original Xbox. Man, that's what that's what put eyes on the Xbox for me. Dead or Alive and that.
Yep.
In regards to that, so it didn't bug me when all of a sudden Sony got it. Like that didn't bother me at all, right? But that's where it got my attention. I remember being at E3, seeing Dead or Alive, and it was like some sort of level, or I would just say stage, right, where the ground was uneven, and I remember there was snow on the ground, and they had deformation of the snow while they were fighting. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh yeah.
Like there's certain points where I've gone to E3 in the past, and I'm like, I give up. Like I was trying to get into the industry, and I'm like, I'm almost like throw my hands up. I give up. You know what I mean? And that was one of those moments where it's like, okay, we'll have to go back to the lab and get good. But like that was one of those games that kind of blew my mind as somebody that worked in the field but didn't work necessarily in the industry at the time. In regards to that. So no, I think that would be a really good fit far as like Xbox alumni that really love the console. There's an attachment there in regards to, but a brawler would be mind-blowingly like talk about games as a service and talk about all the IPs that they own.
It would be way bigger than Killer Instinct. By far, if it's done right. It's got to be done right because you're setting it up. I don't know if you played Multiverses. Multiverses was really good. Okay. But the top tier is Smash Brothers. So it's got to be in between Smash Brothers and Multiverse. It can't be Brawlhalla. It's got to be high tier. You see what I'm saying? So but yeah, continue. I'm sorry.
That's funny you mentioned that because Smash Brothers kind of in a realm of its own. It really is.
It is.
Right?
It is, yeah.
It's a type of fighter that no one else has been able to kind of mimic and make their own in that genre like them. Like there's been like, okay, there's their Brawlhalla. There's been some whatever that Warner Brothers one you were mentioning.
Yeah. Multiverses, yeah.
Multiverses, which wasn't bad either. But it just it doesn't you don't have a memory of it, right? Everyone has a memory of playing Smash. If you get where I'm going with that, no one else has a memory of playing any other Smash-like games, like in the back of their mind when they're talking about gaming. So, yeah, the bar is very high for that style of game, but the potential is very high for that style game. For them more than Nintendo, if you really think about it, right? Because Nintendo has a lot of great IPs they've garnered over the years and they still own and that sort of stuff. So they have a good roster. I think Xbox's roster is bigger.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is now after ABK. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just go through the rare library. You can do, you can do like a tag team character, like 2 different Sea of Thieves characters in there with Conquer. I'm just talking about rare, right? Conquer, right. Force Gemini.
Oh wow, God dang, Jeff, yeah.
Yeah, you could do all those characters. They own Banjo. All of those.
Right. Yeah. People would definitely want to see a Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, Banjo-Kazooie in there. And that's just with Rare. Now imagine them doing, they can do Bethesda games, right? They can have, what is that, Fallout Boy, like logo character be a fightable character. They can have a dragon from Skyrim if they wanted to.
Oh, yeah, they could, yeah.
They could do whatever they want. Like they're just like an endless list. If you think about, there's obviously the Halo character, Wolfenstein. Oh yeah, you think forget about Wolfenstein? You can be Doom.
Yeah,
Doom guy.
Yeah, Doom guy.
You could be the Doom demon in one of them, right? You be an Arbiter. Yeah. You can be
Fallout guy.
Imagine playing grunts.
Oh, that would be nuts.
Yeah, imagine being the grunt, that'd be hilarious in that, right? So. If they could do it well, imagine it. Try not to prevent.
You forgot on Rare the turtle. I mean the frog. One of the frogs. The Rash or whatever the other two.
Yeah, I've already done on
the
that.
Battletoads.
I already done enough damage to you on that one.
You did. You did.
How many gameplays did you lose next podcast?
Oh my God, for just him, he just grinding. I'm like, he didn't fight, he didn't do anything. And people just kept voting. I'm like, come on, man. Come on, man. Y'all killing me.
Pimple, Zit, and Rash. Exactly below average, Joe. Exactly.
Yeah, Joanna Dark.
Yeah. Endless.
Killer Instinct characters. Yeah, like and that's rare. I'm back on rare. I'm looking at rare stuff. Mr. Jiggly Wiggly.
is that named after you? What the hell?
Bro, just for the name, we need it. Bring it. Mr. Jiggly Wiggly. We need it. I don't know what game he's came from, but I need it. I need that. I need
that needs
that
to be
name.
A gamer tag going forward.
I think so. There is no doubt about it. I need to change my name from K Mega 405 to Jiggly Wiggly 405. Let's go.
I'll see you join parties. I'm like, who's this Jiggly Wiggly? Oh, that's K Mega. You can do it on Discord. Man. It's temporary. When you do it on Discord, you have to pay for it to be different.
I might do it just one time just to crack people up.
So, but yeah, I mean the possibilities are endless. Like they have so many options like on the table. Imagine like they grabbed a couple KI characters and throw it in the Brawlhalla, like right? Because the thing is crossover. The idea of crossover, there's almost like the game has to be built for crossover for it to really take off, right? You look at Fortnite. Right. Fortnite's kind of built for it. If you really think it's not a game that takes itself too seriously, kind of has a story, but no one cares. You know what I mean? They just kind of try to shoehorn everything in. It's built kind of that way from the ground up, unintentionally when they started, but going forward, it's kind of been built like that. Like, but you have a serious tone game and you add something that's not serious tone, it becomes a little different. But like if you look at Smash Brothers, it was kind of built like that from the ground up to be a crossover game. It is a crossover game with all these different Nintendo characters. You know what I mean? So,
hey, Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Really?
What?
Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He's a character from Rare.
Really? I didn't know that.
Because they're showing a lot of actors, characters, like, and they're showing like wrestlers, like big Boss Man, and then of course they're showing Spider-Man games, but Activision bought those from Rare, so you could bring some Spider-Man characters maybe in there from old school. You don't think so? You don't think Disney will allow that?
Well, I mean, you would have to start over. It's a new relationship, like sort of thing.
Right.
Like Xbox would probably have to build the base, kind of like how you do with with Fortnite, right? And then once they build their base of all their characters, it becomes a big thing. Then you can start doing crossovers with other IPs, right? Because you're the most relevant fighter or whatever out there, and somebody wants to be part of that. If you get where I'm going with that, so.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. But I mean, I'm just looking. I'm like, damn, I didn't have no idea Rare had all these different type of characters. It's nuts. It's nuts. Yeah, now they're showing the Sea of Thieves characters. That is awesome. And again, they can bring some Nintendo characters over because of the relationship, that Microsoft and Nintendo has been having. So. I don't know, the potential behind that game, behind the brawler, would be insane. And then you would bring Killer Instinct, and then if you would go after Koei Tecmo for Dead or Alive, or of course everybody wants that sweet one, Sega. But you know what I'm saying, and then you would have Virtual Fighter, which I think that a 3D fighter is definitely needed, but I think Dead or Alive is just more attractive. It just screams an Xbox game. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't know. So, but all right, man. You had anything else that you want to add with that, or? You're ready to? Okay.
No, I'm going to be streaming some Mega Man this week, and if you're up for Halo, I'll do Halo this Saturday.
I will play Halo Saturday. I will jump back in. I'll jump back in. I will do it. I will also stream because I've been saying I was going to stream a single player game, and I was going to start doing it with Forspoken and then with Gotham Knights, but those games were a little bit too big. I'm not ready for that, so I found the perfect game. So I'm going to stream that probably tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon just to get through it. And that is, God dang it. It is it's from the new Telltale's game. It's called, it's from a book, really popular, but I do have that game. I need to find it again. Dang it. But yeah, I'm finna play that one. I'm finna stream that one.
Okay.
And so I think that's at the perfect pace to play that type of game and to
I think you're
overthinking.
I think you're overthinking it. Just
I
play a game that you like, and if they know what they're signing up for when they click on your link, they're cool with it. They're not going to hate you if it's a game they're not interested in. They rather watch your podcast.
Well, no. I know that, but I just. But I know how I've still got that crazy mindset because I'm so methodical. Like, I'm just thinking about, I put over 77 hours in the Forspoken, right? Like, I just still don't have have it processed in my mind that somebody would watch me play a game for 77 hours. I know that some will, but I'm just like, let me just start off small. Let me get a little small nugget in. Play something that's a couple of hours, at a time, and then just go from there.
I would say let your audience decide. Like this is what
is true.
This is what I've learned. This is what I learned. If you put it out there ahead of time, you don't bullshit clickbait them, right? Like you make it obvious what it is. If you get where we're going with that, right?
Right.
They'll either click and want to get notified or not. And in the harsh reality, I sometimes think in this mindset is you like, well, I want to play Mega Man, but no one's gonna want to watch Mega Man, right? Back in the old, it is my most viewed game on my channel, easily, by 4 times that, right? So you just don't know, so let your audience decide.
The Expanse. Sorry, I was looking for it. Yeah, The Expanse. Matter of fact, let me put this in my little. What is that thing called? My little folder of where I go to my games where I don't have to search for it.
But my point is, just play the games you want, stream the games you want, and then your audience will decide if they want to watch it or not. And you're already playing, so it's no big deal if you get where I'm going with that. But no, thanks to the audience. The channel is starting to grow. I'm getting closer to the monetization. I got a couple qualifications already there. I just need watch hours.
Let's go.
In regards to that, and that's been slowly going up. In regards to that, so I definitely appreciate everyone that's been supporting me. In regards to that, and then obviously it's never expected of my viewer base to do all that sort of stuff. It's always appreciated though. So getting close to that monetization goal sort of thing. So it's exciting.
Let's get it.
It's exciting.
Help them out, guys. Help them out. Oh, also, I will say this. I think because like I said, I got Atlas Falls on PC and it's not crossplay. There is a game that there is not one person that has been playing it that says anything bad about it. Matter of fact, there's people that just love it, and that is Remnant 2. I do have that on Xbox. So I would say if that's something that we want to go in together in, and it's 4-player co-op too. So I think
it'd be good for you to put a poll out there what you want to see co-op streamed.
Okay.
And then once we do that, then we'll just give the audience what they're looking for. And then,
okay, I'll make a poll for that.
And then I'll have to show you how to do co-streaming.
Okay. All right.
So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, man. Really do appreciate it. Dom, where can they find you at, man?
This is the place. The Don Gaming Live is my live streaming channel. Anything that's done live, it's typically done here. I also have another channel which is typically more of a talking head, anything regarding gaming. So as somebody that wears the developer hat, as a gamer, as somebody that also streams, anything that kind of falls in that umbrella of gaming interest for me, that's where I post stuff. And I will be posting some reviews. So studio tours coming up for the space that I actually create all my content and what I use. And then you want to definitely stick to the end because it's going to evolve into a series in regards to that. And then going to be doing a review, almost done with the review on this headset, and then a review of that capture card. I'm going to try to get that out too. So I'm going to try to get to a point of like at least one video a month on my channel, on that channel, so to help you guys out. But it's going to be highly edited, taking the time, so try to make it worth your time in regards to that. So yeah, so that being said, guys, I think we're out. Are we out?
Well, I got to do my shout outs. And so far, people are just in the chat talking about Remnant 2. Like I said, nobody. Now, I've heard a couple of people have some gripes about Atlas Falls, but for the most part, most people are saying Atlas Falls are good. But again, I have that on PC and it doesn't have crossplay. But like I'm trying to explain to them is that I got to try to talk Don, because Don the cheap does not want to just buy any game. So I got to sit there and we have to convince him. So we get Don the cheap to go ahead and get Remnant 2, then we can get busy and then we can get back to doing our weekend stuff.
I listen, I'm willing to play a game, but what I don't want to do is
frugal.
What I don't want to do is buy the game so we can do co-op and then you ghost me. I don't want.
I'm not gonna ghost you. I'm not gonna ghost you. I know. I did Starfield. Like I said, I know I'm going to be on No Life in Starfield, but I am going to set my time for fight night, and I'm going to set my time for when we play on the weekends, unless of course we got to do something with our significant others or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like I'm going to give dedicated time to playing that on the weekends and playing playing fight night and doing some streaming with you, Halo or whatever. So
you're a happily married man. I know you can commit to things. I know you can commit to a game with Buddy online. So we'll figure it out.
I can. I will. I am. I had to get done with Forspoken though.
I'll tell you what. I will never do split screen with you. Never.
No, I'm not getting cardboard, brother. You're gonna have to sit your ass on one of these screens or go in the front room or somewhere else. So we can accommodate you.
I'll play on 480p before I'll ever do split screen again. So
facts. Let's go. I'll do 30. I'll do 15 frames per second, 480p. Give me the screen. I'll play on this little phone. All right. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate you coming and checking us out. On my channel, KMega405, on Twitter, at KMega4. Like I was saying, I do this thing called Fight Night every Sunday night, where I'm playing all different types of fighters. I did it this last Sunday, but I just did it on Twitch. I do have a Twitch account as well, same name, KMega405. Really do appreciate you guys coming and checking us out, man. Have a good one, man. It's gonna have a great show. Great show.